Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Friday, July 31st, last trading day of July. And we had nothing but selling pressure for most of July, or half of July, I should say. And the last couple of days now, we talked about it on Wednesday, potential for a little um, end of the month rally, given all the selling. People picking up these beat up stocks, and so far, we have a good shot at it. It looks like we had a pretty good recovery yesterday. And so, a key day today is: are we going to get some follow through on that thing, or are we just going to get a doldrum kind of a range bound trading day? Now we have a little bit of news today in the to get started. Employment cost index at 8:30. At 9:45, you get Chicago PMI, consumer sentiment at 10. I don't think any of those are really going to be big market mover. I think the probably the dynamic move in the market this morning is probably going to be that last trading day of the month. Basically, pretty close in the books for the trading in the July trading month. Now, this is just the first month of the third quarter, so we have plenty of time to go before it gets really crazy in terms of reshuffling stuff. But that 2 weeks of selling, beginning of or mid-July till to the right up here to the end, has been nothing but brutal. And it then kind of culminated. ES finally busted through. Remember, ES was sitting here. Let's see if I follow that. ES was sitting here in this range for the longest time. They were holding on pretty darn good until the other day when they blew through these lows on Thursday, I believe, no, Wednesday, yeah, after the Fed announcement. They blew through the lows, started heading lower, and finally ran down here to test this support area at the 73.40s. Finally, and a nice retracement though. So the day after Thursday, the nice retracement took out both resistance areas. Now back up here in this range. So we're right back in the middle of the range on the ES. Interesting. Let's see if they what kind of dynamic we get out of it. Um, so the big question for today is really follow through. Are we going to get some follow through for us? Thursday we had this big move to the Wednesday we had this big move to the downside. Uh, After the Fed announcement, they really took it lower, took out that key support area. And if I scroll this up a little bit, there you go. You can see this is the Wednesday trading session all the way down here, and then they took out the lows here. We were talking about that. They had retested this support area at the 74.20s and 30s for quite a few times. They blew through that one and just absolutely hammered it. That yesterday's overnight looked like they were recovering. Then the day session looked pretty darn good, and now you can see how the overnight is just pretty much back up here again. and I would start off range bound out on the ES. This rundown and retracement, I'm not going to worry about too much. It doesn't really make much of a trend at all. So I'm going to start off range bound on the ES. I would favor the long side to get started and see if they can retest these highs, maybe take them higher. So initially, I would look to buy against these support areas, the 74.95s, the 74.85s, and the 70s. So these three levels I would look to buy against. If they back off below that 74.70s, I would probably take off any bias I have to the long side and just go back range bound on it. Watch these lower support areas, the 74.20s and the 30s. If both of these come out and it starts trading below that, it's going to start getting gnarly. And now we have a pretty good low here at the 73 or 7400s. So I would include that in as part of the range to potentially buy again. So if they run down here to the 30s, 20s, 7405, 7400s, I would look to buy against these support areas, but that would be buying the lower end of the range. In other words, that would be buying this support area right here, this blue support area on the F1. Now, if that comes out and they start taking out the 20s, the 30s, and they keep going, the bet's going to be off, and we're going to be pretty much back in this lower range again. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think the end of the day, we may see probably a little range bound trading and maybe a little bargain hunt rally going into the close of the month. All right. So initially looking to buy against these areas, 74.95s, 85s, and the 74.70s. starting with a slight bias to the upside to see if they can retest these highs, potentially take it higher on the way up. And they're going to look for short setups against the scrolling this down for a sec. There you go. So looking for short setups against that 75.10s, 75.25s, 35s, up to the 75.50s for rotations back down again. Now we are running into on the ES, we are running into this upper area of resistance. It's been here for a bit, this little ledge right there, and this is what it used to be trading. Now, as you can tell, this whole area of volume is getting less and less obvious. The reason I have a level down here at the 74.20s is because they have a nice little volume skew going on there. This area here had a volume edge on it. I'm leaving that there for now, so we remember where it was. But that area is, if they can get up above that one, I think we have a good shot at running it up to this volume skew here at the 75.90s. But we'll see. It all depends on if the market's going to be in the mood for a little bit of a rally here going into the end of the month. Yesterday was a nice retracement, but that's to just retrace the rundown from Wednesday, and it also get a little bit higher than you expect. So I would not be surprised if you get some weakness to get started this morning. As long as the weakness hold above that 74.70, I'll stay on the long side of it, at least favor the long side. Below that 74.70s, I would take off the long buys. You're still looking to buy against the 74.55s, 45s, 30s, 20s, 74.05, and the 73.95s. It's just a little bit less aggressively. I think the better buys, if they start taking out that session lows at the 74.70s, I think the better buys are going to be coming down here at the 20s or 30s. We'll see. So right now the overnight is to the upside, and trust me, the last couple of weeks we've seen this pattern that the overnight trades higher and the day session just hammers it. Yesterday was a different story, and let's see if the pattern has changed now. So again, last trading day of the month, I'm keep my fingers crossed that we get a little bit of follow through and a little bit of a bargain hunt rally kicking in. Nasdaq. On the Nasdaq, that's the one which has been absolutely hammered. They are actually back up right at this the 28,500 resistance area right now. So yesterday we had a pretty darn good retracement. So Wednesday's sell-off was nothing but brutal. Then you had the Micron down in the 700s. Can you believe that? They were trading up at 1,200 for a while. They were down to 700. So it's almost a 50% reduction, maybe 40%. Pulled back on a stock like that. But anyway, so they and then you saw the retracement, a massive retracement to the upside. They took out resistance at the 220s, and we were right there at the we were right there yesterday, and they finally blew through it at the end. And this is earnings. This is tech earnings, and I believe I think one of the stocks would be Amazon because they're up $25 in this morning. So Amazon definitely had a good report. And a few other some of the semi stocks are doing pretty darn good as well. They have Micron, Nvidia also up this morning. So I would do the same thing on this guy. Nasdaq kind of had to clear this hurdle and stay above it. So they are going to start with a slight bias to the upside on the Nasdaq, at least favor the long side until they start taking out these two support areas. So looking to buy against support against that 460s, 400s, 350s down to the 300s for rotations up. And anytime you get stuff like this, they have a nice little pop in the overnight or at the close yesterday, that's earnings related. And the overnight trades up like this, you're going to get some early weakness, most likely. And that weakness is what you're looking to buy against, as long as the weakness doesn't turn into more of a selling dynamic. So looking to sell against weakness. Sorry, looking to buy against weakness for rotations back up again. So the 460s, 400s, 350s, and the 300s here. Looking at buying against those support areas. If they start taking out the 300s here, that would be down in, now we're down in this the second support area on the downside. If they started running down past that one and we head back into this lower range again, I would just shift over to the short side and see how far they want to run it at that point. Because they definitely, if they take out this edge here that they had at the 230s, pretty good edge on the way up. They're defending that until they blew through it, and they've been holding above it. So they take out that one on the way down. I think we're going to be right back in this lower range again. Again, and the last trading day of the month, if you have a little rally today, I don't think you're going to see that much weakness. So initially, I'm looking to buy against these early areas for rotations back up, but not too much, not too far. It starts backing off below that 350, so I'm going to start worrying about the short side below the 300. Yeah, bets are off. We're heading lower. The last one, and the one below the obvious, would be the 220s here, that edge here, which was the resistance on the way up. They were stubbornly holding on to that for a while. On the way up, looking for shorts against the resistance, but not being super aggressive on it. I think the first levels are the ones to pay attention to if you want to get short. It's going to be up here to these areas of resistance. So be looking for short setups against the 600, so 28 600s, 650s, 700s up to the 760s for rotations back down again. Now, if they take out this area right up here, the 730 to 800s, that's a good resistance area. We had that for a while. And that's exactly what these areas are up here I just talked about. It's taking out this upper area. I think we may be back in action. At that point, we have a good shot at running it right back up here to this upper level again. So the two of the hurdles are a hurdle and a half. They're trading right at that resistance area right now, the 450 to 500. But next level up, 730 to 28 800s, and that comes out, you're going to be in pretty good shape. At least going into August, and we'll see how it happens on Monday next week if they're going to take stuff off the table again. But I mean, the last 2 weeks of July has been nothing but brutal, and a lot of money has been moving around, and a lot of positions has been flushed out. So I think there could be a foundation for a little bit of a rally going on here. So looking for shorts against that level, the 600s, 650s, 700 up to that 760 level for rotations down again. So that's how we get started. And the big question for us is really, are they going to be able to continue this overnight strength, or are we going to see weakness, and how much weakness are we going to see? And Nasdaq tend to run it more than you think. So I would not be surprised if they're down here in the 350 to 300 range, maybe even down testing that to 300, 230 level before they find support. But we'll see. You never know quite what's going to happen until the day session kicks in, and you see if they're going to try to take stuff off the table. Now, you know, the normal pattern. If the market is trading higher, it's trending higher. You usually get early weakness and then afternoon strength. And if the market is trending lower, you usually get early morning strength and afternoon weakness. It's a very common pattern. And you'll see that they start running it higher, and you get all excited about it alongside, then they hammer it. That's usually what happens, and that's didn't happen in the last 2 weeks, exactly that pattern. And now we have just one day of a little bit of strength. At least they broke that pattern. The question is, are we going to see some strength follow through in today's trading? All right, so that's the ES and the Nasdaq to get started. Looking at the bond market, always important to figure out what the bond market is doing. And it's a much bigger market than the equities, and it's a lot more deliberate. So they're holding pretty much. They trade out high, a little bit high up to the 109.24, but they're not in any. They're still very much holding. If you look at capital flow in this lower edge, so they're trading, and we were up here. I'm going to fold this back together. But they're right down here in this lower edge, and this is borderline. If they start taking that lower, you're going to have yields go higher than you really want them to be. So bond prices go lower, yields going to go higher. Same story that if this holds, and then you can see bond starts trading higher, you'll probably see yields come down, and that's going to be very positive for the market. We need kind of a little bit better strength in the bond market. You get those prices to start coming up a little bit. The explanations I've heard, I mean, this part of it has to do with the war situation. The other part has to do with a lot of debt being asked to these hyperscalers are going financing a lot of debt to the bond market, and eventually that's going to be like, yeah, now we want to have returns on that debt, and returns means higher yields, and that's going to drive the prices on the bonds down. So the new debt and the refinancing old debt are a couple of big items out there on hanging on the bond market. Anyway, so I would start off a range bound on the bond market right now. We are down at the pretty good support area, so buying against that 109.06, 109, 108, 20, 28 would be the buying opportunities. Looking for short setups against 109.12, 109.16s, 109.24s for rotations back down again. Given the overnight, I would just start off range bound. They were up, they were down. It's pretty much where we left it last time. So what I'm watching really is how we're going to see the weakness. I mean, you see so far there's been a pretty good move to the downside. And if they start taking out the 109s and the 108 26s, if that all comes out and they start trading below it, bets are off. We may see a pretty good move to the downside on the bonds. And if that happens, yield's going to spike a bit. That's going to be a not a great situation. All right, so that's the bond market. Looking at the cryptos real quick. Silver is to the downside, moving pretty good to the downside this morning. Silver, that's down to 57.9. Gold holding around about 4,000, kind of whippy. Oil trading higher, and that's most likely Friday. It's going into a weekend, and it looks like they may this conflict may escalate a little bit before it calms down. So that's kind of what that looks like. So oil price is creeping higher, definitely on the march to the upside. The Bitcoin and Ethereum futures are way down and are heading lower. I think that they're playing games with that legislation, that clarity legislation. I see Coinbase this morning is down $10. So I think the hopes are diminishing that they're going to get that down. So the Senate is just absolutely effing up this whole thing. And they're doing it from what I understand. This is what I understand, ethics language. And it's all about trying to keep the Trump family from making money on cryptos. I can't believe that. So that's the focus on Democrats. They're holding everything up because they don't want Trump's and his sons to make money on crypto. And they are kind of messing up the whole industry. So Coinbase is way down this morning. And we'll see what's going to happen with that. And the hopes for that Clarity Act to actually pass and get out of the Senate is, I guess, diminishing. So that's what that is. But that's the little backstory there on the legislation, ethics language, and it says it's funny how narrow-sighted some people are, but that's how it is. It's politics for you. So the Ethereum, Bitcoin to the downside, Coinbase, and the crypto stocks are getting hammered this morning. And oil trading higher, that would be more related to the Iranian situation. So back to the ES and the NASDAQ. Let's see here. We have pretty much where we left it. Right now we're getting a little bit of weakness. So let's see how this develops. We have news coming out at 8:30, 8:30, 9:45, and 10. I don't think any of them are really going to be making big dents in the market, but let's watch it. All right, guys, we'll wrap it there. So we'll see you guys back at 11:30 for the next update. So let's see if we can get some follow through on these and this overnight strength or not. All righty, guys. See you back at 11:30 later.